Hi guys. In this video lecture, we will study the topic power and politics in the organization. So let's start with the video lecture. So first we will study power. What is power? So power may be defined as the ability or right to be able to control the people or things. So it can also be defined as the political control of a country or a specific area or an organization or a person that has a lot of influences and or control over the other people or organization. So the power is a one's ability to influence the other people. In common term, we can say this. So it is the ability to influence the flow of available energy resources toward the certain goals as opposed to the other goals. So sometimes authority and power can be said same, but there is a slight differences between the authority and power. So the definition of the power is given by Homan. He defined that power is an exchange relationship that occurs in a transaction between the agent and a target. Means here two persons are involved. So who is agent? So agent is a person who uses the power, and target is the receipt of attempt to use the power. Means the agent is the source of power and the target is the recipient of that power. Now next we will study the type or resources of the power. So where does the power came from? So French and Raven has answered this question by classifying the sources of power into the two types. So the first one is positional power and second one is a personal power. So positional power is a power that is obtained by a person by the virtue of his authority and position in the organization. So the positional power can be further classified into the three types. First one is reward power. So the reward power is based on the agent's or a manager's ability to control reward the target employees. The common example of reward powers is that managers control the reward of a reward, or we can say the salary hikes, bonuses and promotions of employees. So this is a reward power. Now next, second one is coercive power. So coercive means punishment. So coercive power is opposite to reward power. Coercive power is based on the manager's ability to cause an unpleasant exercise for its people. So, to coerce someone into doing something means to force the person to do so, often with threat or a punishment. Now, the third one is a legitimate power. So, legitimate power is the power that is based on position and mutual agreement. Both the agent and a target agrees that agent has the right to influence his employees. So such legitimate power is in the form of authority which is delegated to the position of organizational member. So these three are positional power. Now the second type is the personal power. So the personal power is a power which is essentially acquired by the person by his own by his ability and skills that he is having. Now, so types of personal power under this, first is referent power. So the referent power is an elusive power that is based on interpersonal attraction. The agent has a referent power over the target because the target identifies with or wants to be like the agent. Now second one is an expert power, or it can also be sometimes said as informational power or information power. Now, the expert power exists when the agent has information or a knowledge about the target needs. It is based on the proverb that knowledge is the power. Means that it can also be said that information power. Now, next we will study the acquisition of power. That we know that some of the peoples enjoy more power than the others. Then the question arises that what makes them to enjoy the more power than the others. The answer is that they do so because of the following things. So the first acquisition of power is that is they do the extraordinary things. So doing the things in a routine manner does not contribute the much to the personal power. So it is a non-routine or a extraordinary work that involves the risk increases one's own power. So negotiating a new contract developing a new product, or formulating a new programs are the examples of extraordinary activities so that a person can acquire the power. Now, the second one is that they do the right things. So, doing the right and relevant activities does also increases the one's power. Simply performing the assigned roles may not necessarily increase an individual power. Now, the third one is they do visible activities. So, even the extraordinary activities are not known to the others, do not generate much power. Therefore, the activities need to be visible or known to others to acquire power. Next is they cultivate right people. So, individuals can also increase their personal power by developing the interpersonal relationship with their superiors, subordinates, and peers. Now, fifth one is that they form coalition. Coalition means basically forming the group. So, coalition is yet another way to earn the power. In practice, individual or groups often combine together so that their resources are properly utilized for the common goal and objective. So, the philosophy behind joining together is gaining the increased capacity to influence the others. Now, the last one is that they co-opting means working in collaboration, or there is a coordination. So, in addition to coalition, individual can increase their personal power by co-opting people or grouping whose support is needed into the position of limited influence. So, co-opting is different from coalition. So, co-opting specifically seeks to eliminate the threat and opposition to an individual base of power. Now, we will study next, that is allocation of power, that is how powers are allocated in the organization. So, the allocation of power can be done by two ways. First one is division of work, and second one is an organizational power. So, what is division of work? So, the work is divided in the organization based on the technical and functional requirement. So, it brings the dependence, and hence the power can be obtained. So, though all the jobs are important from the organization point of view, yet it cannot be denied that some jobs are more important than the others, and person holding those jobs hold the more power irrespective of their personal leadership quality. So, in this way we can say that division of the work brings the dependence, and hence the power are allocated. Now, the second classification is organizational power. So, organization allocate the power in two ways. First one is structural power. So, it has a hierarchy of authority. The higher the position, the higher the legitimate authority. So, mere granting of authority does not make a person powerful unless he uses its efficiency. So, invoking sanction, awarding promotion, or even punishment makes the manager powerful. Now, the second classification under organizational power is functional power. So, it is related to a job a person does by the virtue of division of labor. That is, the people in the organization do a very specific element of a job. So, any specialization in isolation does not lead to a power generation, rather it eliminates the effect. Now, the next we will study organizational politics. So, the term organizational power and politics both are correlated or interrelated or closely related to one another. So, the term politics in the organization conjure up to the few negative images. However, politics is not necessarily negative. So, politics relate to the way people gain and use the power. Thus, the organizational politics means that how a person can use that power to influence the people and also the organization. So, the politics have focused on the use of power to affect the decision making in the organization, or on the behavior of our members that are self-serving and organizationally not sanctioned. So the so there is a definition given by Farrell and Peterson. So according to him, organizational politics refers to those activities that are not acquired as a part of one's formal role in the organization, but that influences or attempt to influence the distribution of advantages and disadvantages within the organization. So this is the definition of organizational politics. Next, we will study reasons reasons for organizational politics. That is why there is a organizational politics remains or always occurs in an organization. So the first one under this is unclear goal. So organization or the human group work for achieving the certain goals. The goal, the more clear, the more unclear, the complex the goal are, the there is a more politics in the organization. Now the second one is an autocratic decision. So in case of autocratic style of leadership, the leader dictates the decision or a order, and subordinates have the no right to point out. So workers are made aware of what to do but not why to do. Now third is discretionary authority. So organization provide position with discretionary authority that is used based on individual judgment. Next is power and politics. Managers acquire power to exercise over the people and things because it is satisfying to them. Next is biased performance appraisal. In organization, there are the cases when the employee's performance evaluation can't be based on any concrete achievement. So one such case may be when a performance can't be measured quantitatively. For example, the job performance of the personnel or personnel. Next is the saturation in promotion. Some of the people resort to politics after they have reached to the saturation level of career. So having felt that they have reached the maximum level of their performance or their talent and skill, so they will feel dissatisfaction and resort to the organizational politics. Scarcity of resources. As discussed earlier, any person or a unit who has control over the allocation of scarce resources yield the power, and political influence play an important role in how these resources are distributed at various departments and used in the organization. Next is non-programmed decision. So resolution of non-programmed decision is a complicated matter as there are not any solution. So these unique problems involve consideration of various factors and variables. Next is organizational change. So organizational change is a continuous process. People who are in a position to take decision can very effectively and influence the decision. So these changes may include the vital areas like restructuring, creating the new department, launching the new product line, appointment of key personals, and thus creating the lobbying with the organization. Now the last one is the external environment. So the external environment is highly immobile and generally unpredictable. So the ability of an organization to meet the challenges effectively by appropriately analyzing the external environmental factors, technology and processes, etc. Now the last topic under this is managing the organizational politics. That is how the organizational politics can be managed in the organization. So under this, the first one is that is job needs to be clearly defined. So our accumulated experiences suggest that much of the political behavior is caused in an organization in the absence of clarity of job definition. Next is management should discourage the dysfunctional behavior of people. So dysfunctional form of political behavior occurs only when top management encourages it directly or indirectly. Next is action should be taken to nip the dysfunctional behavior in the bud. Means that dysfunctional behavior should be eliminated when it starts growing. Uh, so as and when the first sign of dysfunctional behavior is evident, the manager should apply the offensive tactics to curb and contain it. Now the people next one is that people should be rewarded objectively. So much of the dysfunctional form of political behavior can be checked if the people are rewarded for their positive behavior and penalized for their negative one. Next is open communication. So also the open communication among the people helps to stop the control over the information and in turn discourages the political behavior among them. Next is reduction in uncertainty. So uncertainty in terms of ambiguous goal, unrealistic and non-programmable decision, technological and organizational changes breed the dysfunctional behavior in behavior of politics. So therefore, the reduction of uncertainty helps to curb the political behavior of organization. Now, the last one is awareness. So, making the people aware of the causes and consequences of the politics make them resist the temptation of resorting to political behavior. So, this is all about the organizational power and politics. Thank you for listening it very patiently.